Haumatakuyepi, Chantewashte Napechuzapi. I greet you with a heartfelt handshake. This is Elliot Bannister. I'm the Tribal Digital Humanities Specialist at the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe, where I've worked since 2017.
Hamidakuyepi, Chantewashte Napechuzapi, Nacole Walker Emachiapi. My name is Nacole Walker. I am Plabaksa Dakota and Sihasapa and Hunkbapha Lakota from Standing Rock. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Victoria, focusing on Indigenous language revitalization.
Hamidakuyepi, Tasha Hauff Emachiapi. I'm Minikaju and Oglala Lakota. I'm an independent researcher and consultant, and I work closely with Standing Rock Iapi.
Thank you for choosing our talk titled Buffalo Soup Two Ways, showcasing a Dakota-Lakota-led archiving workflow. Dakota-Lakota are closely related dialects of a Siouan language spoken in the Great Plains of North America. You'll get a chance to hear how the language sounds in a minute as we begin to explore Wóoyake. Wóoyake, meaning stories, is a digital, searchable, user-friendly archive comprised of recordings made by fluent speakers of Dakota-Lakota. If you managed to attend our talk yesterday, you'll know that Wóoyake began in response to the need for access to authentic Dakota-Lakota language, that is, language used by fluent speakers in real life, so we can move beyond pedagogical materials alone. Accessible to Standing Rock members at wóoyake.org, it contains digitized language use going back nearly 200 years. We'll go ahead and share our screen now. So let's imagine that I'm a teacher in a Standing Rock school and I want to prepare a class on buffalo. Our people consider buffalo as our relatives, and they figure significantly in our creation story, our lived history, and our cultural prosperity. So let's go ahead and type in buffalo, and our search results are a sort of buffalo soup in themselves. We'll talk you through these results, and we're going to point out some Dakota-Lakota words as we go. Pay attention because there's going to be a quiz at the end. The first set of results are phrases. Tasha will come back to those in a moment. The second set are recordings that feature the word in their title. This one is a manuscript written in Lakota by one of our ancestors. It's about a game that boys would play where they attach buffalo horns to saplings and then send these out across the ice. This one is an audio recording made over 100 years ago of a song traditionally sung at the start of a buffalo hunt. The next set of results are people with buffalo in their names. These people either created recordings or they feature in recordings others have made. Old Buffalo, for example, was a leader who recorded an encouragement song he had sung while fighting the crows. By the way, Tretranka is the buffalo bull, the male buffalo. Let's take a quick listen to that, and you'll see that the audio is synced to the transcript. Meanwhile, Buffalo Bill, who you may have heard of, features in letters that our ancestors wrote in Lakota from England and Italy while they were traveling with his troop. And the last set of results are places with buffalo in their names. Here's Buffalo Lakes on the homelands of our Sisseton neighbors. We found a letter written from there about a feed and giveaway, which is a traditional way that we commemorate relatives on the other side.
Okay. Let's go back up to phrases. These are Dakota-Lakota sentences mentioning buffalo that appear within those manuscripts, audio recordings, letters, and so on. This one says, "The thing I like most is buffalo jerky soup." And if we click through, it takes us to that point in an interview with Dolores Taken Alive, our late Unchi, where she's talking about traditional foods. Again, you'll see there's a transcript. If we mouse over these words, we learn the word that Unchi is teaching us for meat jerky is papa. Let's go back and check out another one. Pte Sinte Dodomiapi is a recipe for another soup from a book written entirely in Dakota by George Firecloud. You can see he used the word pte, which means buffalo in general, although at this point in colonization, it started to mean cattle too. By now you can see that there are two broad types of material on Wóoyake: audio-visual recordings like the songs or the video with Dolores, and written texts like the manuscripts or this digitized book. What Elliot and I are going to demo for you now are the workflows that we developed for each of these types in order to meet the needs of the language learners in our community.
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with an audio recording. I'm going to do another song by Tatanka-e-Hani, Old Buffalo. And the first step is just to load it up into Elan here. And then we're going to create a segment for each utterance. And that is a section of speech between breaths. And the waveform visualization can really help us out here. And I want to acknowledge Silas, an intern from SBC, who really helped with this task on the rest of the collection. So now I'm going back, listening, and typing, transcribing what I'm hearing. And once I've done that for the whole file, I'm going to export it to Flex, which is where we're going to input the gloss. That is the meaning of each word in isolation, but within the context of its use. So I'm loading it into Flex here, and you can see that at this stage in our project, Flex has done most of the glossing for us based on previously inputted information. So once I'm done with this, I'm now going to export it from Flex and re-import it back into Elan. So pulling it back into Elan, we can see that the segments are still in place, and it has divided the text into word-by-word subdivisions, each of which is associated with a gloss. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new tier type for the sentence level translations. And for this collection, I'm assisted by Robert High Eagle, who produced translations of the songs at the time they were recorded. So all I have to do is type those in. And you can see here that a sentence segment can span multiple utterance segments, like this one. I'm going to type in the translation. I found him, so I brought his horse home. Now I'll save the finished file, and to get it ready for upload, I'm going to convert it to the XML schema that our site uses. And I'm going to do that in a program called Amphis Bena, and I want to acknowledge Casey, formerly language software engineer for the tribe, for his assistance in designing this schema and also for building this conversion tool. And now I will add the recording to the site. And I'm going to start by adding in the XML that we just created. And then I'm going to upload the MP3 file. And then we can go back and add in some metadata. So let's start with a title and a short summary of the recording. Drag in an image here to help illustrate it. We know that Tatanka-e-Hani, or Old Buffalo, is the voice that you hear in the song. It was recorded in 1913, so over 100 years ago. And Robert High Eagle produced the translation, and Francis Densmore assisted in the recording. And this was created in McLaughlin, South Dakota, on the south side of Standing Rock Reservation. We'll add in some keywords here as well. On this tab, I can add a bit of info about the object from which it was digitized. In this case, it was a wax cylinder that is held at and was digitized by the Library of Congress. Now, the Rights and Permissions tab is really important to us as a community. Here we can specify which groups of users can access the recording, and here I've opened it up to any member of the Očhéthi Šakówiŋ. And I can also add in some traditional knowledge labels. So I'm going to go ahead and save this recording. And this is what it looks like. Here is the transcript synced with the audio. So those blue highlights we see there are the utterance segments, and the yellow highlights are those sentence segments that we created. And those traditional knowledge labels, they help communicate real-life protocols that our community follows around access to cultural heritage. And all of those metadata links, those link to the place or person pages of the type that you saw earlier.
Now let's take a look at a written document. We use optical character recognition to extract a text-encoded transcription of the document. This software, Transcribus, can be trained to recognize handwriting and typed text. However, it does cost to run the engine. So for typewritten text, we do the OCR in another program called Abby, and then import it into Transcribus, which then links the words to their position on the page. Throughout history, Dakota Lakota has been spelled in different ways by different writers. We use a program called Adaptit to retype it into a consistent phonemic orthography and to change the word boundaries where needed. We then export the transliteration to Flex. I have already shown you glossing, so the next stage is the sentence level translation, which for written documents is also done in Flex. We can also tag people, places, and dates with consistent IDs that we keep track of in Monday.com, our backend cataloging platform. Now we have the image word coordinates exported from Transcribus and the transliteration/translation file from Flex. A single word in the transliteration may comprise multiple words in the original spelling and vice versa. So, we also want to use the Adaptit file because that's where we grouped those elements into single word units. Amphis Bena takes those three, our thanks again to Casey, and converts it into the same XML schema as an audiovisual recording ready for upload. The recording creation is pretty much the same, but we're uploading JPEGs rather than MP3s. And here's what it looks like. A language learner can read the letter in the phonemic spelling or the original spelling, and even in the original format. Those ID tags we added in Flex link us via those people and places pages to other related material. I added a page for Buffalo, New York, so that when the next teacher searches Buffalo, they'll now get even more results.
And talking of Buffalo, here's that quiz that Nacole promised us for the end. So, 3 Lakota words there that have appeared throughout this presentation. Tchatchanka, Papa, and Pte. And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to match these to their English translations from the right. So let's take a look here. Tchatchanka is buffalo bull, or the male buffalo. Papa is buffalo jerky, or any kind of meat jerky. And Pte is the general word for buffalo, or as Tasha said, can mean cattle nowadays as well. So, points all around. There's just a real simple example of how Wóoyake can be used to teach vocabulary and, of course, language more broadly.
So, as you could see, the work we're doing is very involved, but it opens up community access to our ancestors' voices in a way that's never been done before. These workflows help us meet that need, but it's always our goal to make them more efficient. The more efficient we make them, the more recordings we can add to the site, amplifying the voices of our fluent speakers of the past, present, and future. Thank you for being here, and please hit us with all of your questions.